My special guest, Josette Diaz, is joining me from California today on her mission that specifically focuses on working with women, feeling that women have endured making themselves small for the sake of others for centuries. She says it is time for women to bring their gifts to the surface and become empowered. Josette says, loving yourself is the key to feeling and understanding the conviction of the heart. Oh, this is so exciting. I'm super stoked about this. And she is going to be sharing the three core benefits to becoming your own soulmate. Welcome to Awaken and Ascend. I am Jennifer Regular, your host, and I'm so excited that you're all joining us. Josette, welcome. I'm so happy you're here, especially because you're bringing that sunny San Diego, California sunshine with you while I sit here in Toronto.
Thank you, Jennifer. I know it's been actually a little cold in Southern California. I mean, cold for California. So when I say in the 50s, other people go, that's balmy. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, yeah. The weather is definitely changing. I reside on British Columbia, which is on the west coast of Canada, and usually that's the warmer climate compared to
Yeah.
Toronto, but it's switched this year.
Oh,
They're
how
suffering with
interesting.
like minus 20 and up weather,
Oh,
like
wow.
20 and colder, I mean, minus 20 and
Yeah.
colder Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. And here it's just been like hovering around 0 degrees Celsius. So things are changing, but we're not here to talk about the weather. We
Right.
are here to talk about those core beliefs. But
Yeah.
Josette, before we actually get into that, I'm really curious how you started on this path,
Mm,
specifically focusing on women. Like you say, this goes back centuries where we've been making ourselves small. And I think we all do that, even if we identify differently than
right.
a woman. But I'm curious how this showed up for you and how you became empowered on your path. So, really, what lit your path, Josette?
That's a really good question. I think ever since I was a kid growing up, I recognized that my mother felt very, um, I don't want to just use the word small. She felt like she was not necessarily a person, in didn't have a lot of say so in the world that she lived in. And so that really impressed me so strongly growing up that I felt like it wasn't true. I didn't feel that it was true for me. And I felt that I did see her grow, of course. My mom had me when she was young. She was only 18. So, we grew up together in a sense. And that made such an impact on me that when I got older, I really felt so deeply and strongly about women being empowered. And I wanted to be empowered because I grew up very restricted and I didn't have a lot of say so in what was happening in my environment. Most kids don't, right? And so it just was something that was so important to me. And then as I grew in my career and I led other people, I was so excited when I got to help women grow. And
Mm,
so that just rolled into when I became a mother and I stayed home with my kids for a period of time and then life changed. And sometimes life happens for you when you don't necessarily take the risks or take the action. You think, oh, I have this dream of helping women. I knew I always wanted to be influential.
mm,
So I knew that about my dream, yet I didn't really know how to obtain it. I didn't know how I would go about it. I didn't feel that I would be supported by my husband. And I had all these different thoughts that ran in, that stopped me or that I allowed to stop me to take those different risks and to take action on what I was feeling was so strongly meant for me.
mm,
And so I just put it on a shelf. I just thought, well, maybe someday, maybe I'll get to this. My kids need me. My husband's not going to support this. And how am I going to do that on top of everything else that I do already as a parent?
mm,
And so then life will step in, and life stepped in, and it stepped in a big way where everything shifted, all of it shifted. And once that happened, I then was able to step into what it was that was meant for me. It
Mm,
was just a natural progression. It was not out of need or any of that. It was, I mean, maybe a little bit of need. Yeah, that's fair. And yet at the same time, it developed. I started my business off being a Reiki practitioner.
oh,
And so I've been a Reiki master teacher since 2014. I've been a practitioner since '06. So I've had this long journey of being a healer, and I've used that aspect in some of my work. And what was really calling to me, though, was coaching women,
mm,
because women, I feel, have suppressed themselves for so many centuries, and our outer world is proof of that. We live in a world where women still don't make the same amount of money as men. We live in a world where, some rights are not necessarily considered to be our own.
mm,
We live in a world that, women are treated differently than men. And so that what is really the passion that drives me,
mm,
those things drive me to do what I do and to help women. Because when when my life shifted and changed, and I lost my family structure, we lost our home, we lost everything, I had to then rebuild on my own. And that has taken me on this tremendous journey of coming home to myself.
mm,
And it's not only self love, like we talk a lot about self love, self care. Those are all super important components. Loving yourself, though, is not just getting a massage, not just carving out time. Loving yourself is making discerning decisions that are best for you.
mm,
It's like we women, I think, are raised so much in that mindset of how we are expected to nurture, to be loving, to always want to be mothers, to always want to, caretake everyone, to always put ourselves last and put everyone else first. And we really need to turn that inside out. And I know that women hear this all the time. We hear this a lot, especially in society now, where we do have there is a focus on self care. Yet I think that as women, we need to really think about what that means to us and really start to dissect that. It means putting yourself first when you decide to do certain things in your life. And it's okay not to attend to someone else's needs first, and to put yourself first.
mm,
And so that might be, difficult for some women. I know sometimes I've struggled with that, especially when it comes to my children. I want the best for my kids. And so, yet there are times that I cannot do certain things for them before I do something for me.
yeah.
And if I don't take care of me, then I'm not going to really be there at my fullest capacity and show up in my excellence for them. And the more that we diminish that discerning ability around taking care of ourselves, the less available we are to not only know what we want and be able to hear our own internal call and follow our own internal compass. We are, watering it down.
Mm,
And then we really pay a price for that. I mean, I paid a heavy price for putting everything on the shelf and not paying attention to what was really calling me, and being afraid to step into it, and being afraid of what everyone else would think, or how would it affect, what would I mean, it was so blown up in my own mind
mm,
that I couldn't move. I was frozen in it. And so the first core belief around becoming your own soulmate, coming home to yourself, really taking care of yourself, is really looking at how you process your own self love and your own self care in a way that's more radical than what you might think it is.
Mm.
It's not surface, it's much deeper than that. And once you have started that process, it's a practice. You're not going to do it perfectly, and it's okay not to do it perfectly. That's part of it, right? It's doing it when I speak of doing it at your operating from your own excellence, that doesn't mean perfection. It means whatever your excellence is in that particular moment. And sometimes that what you might consider doesn't look good is your excellence in that moment, and that's okay. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It's just your very best that you can give in that moment. And sometimes that is not what you would give the next day or in the next minute. You might be able to level that up a little bit. And regardless, though, staying in your excellence throughout that process of loving yourself is exactly what you are supposed to be doing in
Giving the
every moment.
best of you rather than
Right.
what's left of you.
Yes.
Giving the
I
best of
love
you
that.
rather than what's
Yes.
left of you. I love that. And Josette, I really liked what you said about putting yourself first. Because what that made me think was that, well, then that puts you in a position of leadership,
Mm,
to being a role model, putting
mm,
yourself first, ahead, showing the
mm.
way, leadership,
Right.
right? And I think
Right.
that's incredible. And isn't
Mhm.
that what we want? To be a good role model or influence for our children or for others and the other future generations. And oh, this
Yes.
is awesome. So that's the first core belief, is being able to love yourself, make room for self-care, be the best version of yourself, elevate your excellence so that you
Yes.
can, yeah, give the best of you without what's left of you. And so what other beliefs are helpful then?
The other things that you want to really focus in on is not only loving yourself, you want that to roll into what is it that you are currently doing that is not fitting for you anymore.
Mm,
Meaning that because I specialize in working with women that are in midlife,
mm,
because women get to a certain age. Midlife, believe it or not, starts at 40. When I was 40, I didn't even relate to midlife.
mm.
So that's why I always say that, because it's like, if you're 40 or approaching 40, you're not going to feel like you're hitting midlife. And it's not until you get later into your 40s that you start to recognize a little bit of it.
Mm,
And so when you are realizing that when you get to that place in your life, whatever your journey is, some women actually do, you know, feel these things sooner. And so you're right on time no matter where you're landing. Yet when you start to notice and feel that there is something going on that just doesn't feel right, like you're not connecting in the way that you used to connect, and connection feels different. You can't really put your finger on it. You're not really sure what that is. You try to grasp for it, and then it doesn't really kind of bring itself into your awareness. And so then once you move past that foggy stage, you do start to recognize that the way that you've built your life, in the way that you've put various masks on, you've adopted certain personas to be the mother, to be the wife, to be the best friend, to be the good daughter. There are certain things that you kind of like kept tightly inside of you, and no one really necessarily knew that you were not feeling it, that you felt maybe a little bit like put upon.
mm,
And yet you had to wear the mask in order to accomplish the task, and in order to keep the peace, and in order to, make sure that all the things stayed in line and were done.
mhm,
And so once you hit that point in your journey, and this happens in midlife, you start to say, I that's not the life I want to live anymore. And so this is that pivotal point where women have the opportunity to start developing their second act, to start looking at the vision that they want to bring in, seeing the dreams that they've had that they can actually step into and
Mhm.
become the woman that they've always wanted to be. And so, dreaming and allowing yourself to see the vision that you might have had ever since you were little. So, I have a process that I use called the golden thread. And so, it's looking at this golden thread that started from the time you were born. There's a stream of energy, right? That's what the golden thread is. What's what it represents to me is that it's a stream of energy that you've carried with you, and it has sparkled and lit up along the way, leaving you breadcrumbs. So I love to go back in that golden thread and just examine, what did you dream of when you were 5 years old? What was it? And even if it's like you wanted to become a doctor and you're not a doctor, you're an engineer, or you're, something else, and you're an administrator. Well, there is a strand of that original dream. There's an aspect of it that has followed you. And so maybe it's a healer, maybe it's a communicator, maybe it's someone who is a problem solver. And so there's some aspect of whatever that original childhood dream is that does follow you throughout your life. And if you look at where you've been in the different vocations that you've adopted or that you stepped into, you'll see pieces of it. Now, they may not all work out, yet they have guided you along this path. And then once you are removing these masks and you start to dream and allow yourself to see a new vision, you then are creating this whole different, um not creating, you are creating the world around you, yet you are stepping into the woman that you've always been,
Mhm.
this woman that has eluded you because we have focused on what's outside of ourselves and separated ourselves from her,
Mhm.
that we then get to re-examine where have we been dropping all these pieces of ourselves, and who am I really, because I have this higher vision which requires me to step into this higher version of myself. And that is the woman, your true authentic woman that you are internally. And so recognizing that, so the first core belief is self love. And the second is to start visioning and dreaming about who you truly are.
The women behind the mask.
Yes.
Mhm.
And let it all go. So you can let it all in, right?
Yes, I love
Um,
that.
and then we move on to the third piece, which is once you've examined what your vision is and you know who you want to step into, she's going to reveal herself along the way, because you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
And then once you hit that space of where you're practicing, it's practicing, right? Sort of like in the beginning when you started practicing how to love yourself, practicing letting go of the different personas and the ways that you've always done things. That's a practice as well. And then it's practicing and coming into harmony with your vision of who you are and who you are going to be, that you're stepping into, and how you love yourself and take care of yourself. And as you do all of those different pieces, you are then able to start empowering yourself, and you become harmonious with what it is that you see, um, the vision being.
Yeah.
And that's the trick of thought. So we have to revolutionize how we think about things, because your thoughts up to now have navigated you to create a world that separates you from it.
Mm.
And so as you go through these other processes of, you know, loving yourself, stepping into your vision, becoming the woman of who you truly are, your authentic part of yourself, you then have to then look at what's happening up here, because your thoughts are not neutral. They're either furthering the illusion, the meaninglessness that exists,
Hmm.
or they are furthering the truth that you are creating your reality. And you're doing that with everything that you think about. So when you focus on the woman that you are stepping into, like, let's go back to, um, what did you say? You made a beautiful statement around giving to yourself and not coming from where you've depleted. You had a
Yeah, you becoming the best so that you give people the best of you rather than what's
yes,
left of you.
yes, exactly. Because otherwise, if you let those thoughts, you'll get back down to that place,
Mm,
and you're gonna have days where you're gonna feel like that. It's a continuing journey, right? So that revolution of thought, when you revolutionize your thoughts and you turn everything inside out and you really focus on the unknown and the unseen, you are shifting the practice of believing. And so if you're shifting that practice of believing, you are the creator, you're the co-creator. So that then furthers your path. So those three things are the path to coming home to yourself, to becoming your own, excuse me, your own soulmate, to returning home, to unleashing your authentic, truest version of who you are, and really standing in your power.
mm,
Because I think women so often, we have, allowed our thoughts to say we're not good enough. We've believed, what the world has told us about ourselves.
mm,
And even if we consider ourselves to be pretty powerful women, there's always something that can trigger that not good enough button.
mm.
And until we can start to really redigest what the truth is, as we do that, we become stronger and more empowered. And there is a gift to, there's a reason that we are women and we do have a nurturing nature. The feminine energy is about creativity, it's about the quiet moment of listening, the quiet moment of connecting, the
Mm.
quiet moment of slowing down. And as we inform our masculine side of ourselves, that's where we step into our action. And then it works in tandem. So that's part of what I've created in my system called Seasons of the Soul, is to learn how to move through change in your life through that process of creation and action, informing and action, assessing, etc.
Mm.
And so it's just a way for you to tap into your own personal rhythm so that you move through your life in flow. And so those three components take you on that journey to move you into that.
Oh, I love that. And the seasons of the soul, like really understanding the cycles that we go through and having these practices, which is almost like a rehearsal for becoming the person we've always known ourselves to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
also like when you said, I really get that now about redigesting things and digestion, feeling into what actually nourishes us, what
Yes.
nourishes our bodies, our minds, our emotions, and our spiritual beingness, our states of mind, and how our beliefs can shift our reality and the way that we can interact with the world and how we deeply can connect with ourselves. I can feel that this is so true for you, Josette, and I think true for all of us, and how much it speaks to your passion. And the way I like to talk about passion is when you break up the word, it's pass I on. That
Mm.
I being your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And I see how this came about in your wake up moments, that you spoke
Yeah.
about earlier on, about how you came on this higher path, this more empowered path of your true purpose and what you're meant to be passing on out in this world. And I'm curious how people can connect with you. Is there a website, social media, or different things that you're offering that people can connect with?
Yes, I actually I'm on many of the platforms. I'm on Instagram as Josette Diaz, also on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I also have a YouTube channel, The Growing Edge for Midlife Women. And you can connect with me through either an alignment session, which I take you through a creative process because I use creativity to provide a different kind of conversation that you have with your soul. And um, then I also am offering my free masterclass, which is Seasons of Your Wise Woman, which will take you through that process of identifying your wise woman through the seasons and how you interact with your masculine at the same time. So it's a really beautiful process to go through. And my website is guidancetowellness.com. And I think I hit all of them.
You have, and I love that so much. Like, this is super exciting. I'm definitely going to have all of those links for everyone in the show notes because that's such a beautiful way to connect and reestablish our identity, and our connection with ourselves and what we want to be sharing with the world and to
Mhm.
come into alignment. I love that. And within the seasons of the soul. So definitely going to have the links for all of that in the show description, including those social media links in the website. And of course, you'll find my guides down there as well for living your passion and purpose and engaging in soul care, and another free masterclass that you might partake in about igniting your passion.
Mm.
Josette, it's been so wonderful having you here. I just love all the wisdom that you shared, but especially the presence that you just exude so much love and peace and understanding. And I'm sure everyone's going to want a piece of that too.
Thank you, Jennifer. It was such a pleasure to be here. Thank you. You're such a gracious host. I love getting to speak with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to each and every one of you of them in tuning in to Awaken and Ascend. Every week we have an amazing, phenomenal wellness advocate or transformational mentor or someone to guide us along our path in the most empowered way. So you can look back at past topics or come again next week for the new ones. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.